That's right. Back at it again, Full Custom Hot Talk here, doing another Blu-ray review. Baby. That's right. Today we're going to be talking about this wonderful, excellent 2-pack from Scream Factory featuring Munchies and Munchie. 2 films that I thought I loved, and I don't know. It's awoken some strange obsession in me now. Into the Munchieverse I have descended, and I have barely made it out alive.
God, if you listen, help!
Before we get into Munchie talk, this is like a... What did I give the Beyond Darkness one? There's a 2-pack they did. I did a review for a Beyond Darkness and whatever that other movie was. Probably like a D? This is a cut above that. This is like a C. Because yes, it's 2 movies. There's barely any special features. But there are deleted scenes from Munchies. Mainly one, which is actually kind of cool. That fits into the plot pretty well. We'll talk about that here in a moment. Now, normally what I would do is I would sort of break each movie down and talk about them separate. Well, I'm going to kind of do that here, but it's going to be a bit more loosey-goosey because Munchies and Munchie are just such a bizarre mess. I can't imagine this not devolving into just a clusterfuck, basically.
Bingo.
So, let's start with Munchies. Munchies is basically Roger Corman saying, hey, you know what would be great? If I made one of those Gremlins movies. Those seem to be making a lot of money. So he got the editor from Gremlins and said, hey, make me a Munchies movie. And they did it. And it was shot over 12 days. 3 days were filming of puppets and insert shots. So pretty straightforward. What else could you expect from Roger Corman, right? So it was made. You've got a weird cast of Harvey Korman. You've also got Nadine Vandervelde, who is also in Critters. So you've already got someone who's fairly familiar with working with tiny little goofball guys. And in this, they basically discover this Munchie in a cave in Peru, not a cave, but a pyramid. And they're taking care of it. It gets stolen by Harvey Korman, one of his characters. He plays a dual role here. And his nephew chops up this little sweet little, I wanted to say critter, Munchie.
Gotta be Munchie.
And he chops it up because the Munchie's been getting rowdy. And it turns it into several Munchies. So now you get more Munchies by chopping up this Munchie. You no longer have to worry about feeding them or watering them because you just can make more Munchies, like making more worms. You just keep cutting up worms and you get more worms. Same thing. So this Munchie is a weird mix of comedy and kind of horror. It's supposed to be a kid's movie. You have these Munchies. The first one's sweet and kind of cute and looks like a weird little lizard. To me, they always kind of looked like they were wearing these weird bounty hunter space armors. And then once they get chopped up, they just start talking jive and they start trying to eat people and stuff. It gets really weird and very uneven in tone. Gremlins, the whole tone is a very even film. It's just a dark comedy all the way through. I don't think it teeters too much to one or the other side, in my opinion. I think it's very even. Munchies has these weird tones of like, hey, I want to be a family movie. Oh, we just bit the shit out of this dude's neck.
This is silly. This is silly and danger.
And it's super weird, dumb as hell, and even worse than being dumb is it's incredibly boring. I remember liking this as a kid, and I think I just liked it because, hey, dumb little guys going crazy and they like to party. Everything in the 80s that was little and dumb also loved to party. It's just crazy. That's how we marketed everything. This thing is this, and it likes to party.
Oh shit, that's what's up.
Party was a big thing in the 80s. Everyone used to party. So that's pretty much it for Munchies. That's why I kind of didn't want to spend too much time on Munchies. I also didn't want to spend too much time on Munchies because in the trilogy, yes, there are 3 Munchie movies total. Munchies is the one that doesn't fit, and it's the first one. And we'll talk about why. All in all, it's a very, again, boring movie. I would probably place this above Hobgoblins, maybe. I need to rewatch Hobgoblins. I think that movie was pretty bad. But again, it's been a minute. And it was also a while since I'd seen Munchies also. So I'm not too sure how I'd rate them against each other, but I feel like on impulse and on principle, I want to rate Munchies above Hobgoblins. But let's talk about Munchie.
Gotta be Munchie.
Much more importantly, boy, oh boy, directed by Jim Wynorski. If you're not familiar with Jim Wynorski, but I always equate him to kind of messing up sequels, and though I don't have much to cite as evidence, he did this, which disregards Munchies. And he also came up with a story, at least, for House 4, which sort of fits in with House 1 as a sequel, but then not really at all. Other than that, he's made a ton of pretty wild stuff. Most notably, in my opinion, is Chopping Mall, an absolute classic. Many people still call it by its alternate title, Killbots. I don't blame him, it's a great title. Munchie's crazy. You've got Dom DeLuise voicing the titular Munchie, this scary little animatronic guy. Worth noting that Gabe Bartalos, who's done a lot of effects for Head and Lauder, designed the look of Munchie. You also got Lonnie Anderson in the lead role, who was Burt Reynolds' waifu for a very long time. You also have a very young Jennifer Love Hewitt, which is always a trip to see a famous actor as a child. Munchie's kind of weird. Munchie has powers. Munchie falls into this kid's lap, essentially, and this kid uses Munchie to play hijinks. But all Munchie can do is basically advanced telepathy. He can make a pizza fly, which pisses off an Italian chef.
Come on. This is one of my specials.
That's really the gist of his powers, is kind of making things float. He was able to throw a really cool party.
Ooh, that's what's up.
And very mischievous. Again, nothing to do with the original. Dom DeLuise, though, is Gangbusters. He also was this, and I believe he was also a talking skateboard. These times were crazy. Children's and family movies in the 90s were very crazy. And I'd like to believe that Dom DeLuise was part of that. It's a very weird scene. I highly recommend trying to find some on your own. You're going to watch them and just think, what the hell was going on? That direct-to-video stuff, man. It's crazy times. So Munchie is pretty cut and dry in terms of what this movie is. Finds this little chicanerous, I'm not sure if that's a word, capering
Get the fuck out of here.
Munchie. They pull some hijinks. Bad man wants to kidnap Munchie. Munchie's only weakness, by the way, is being caught in a burlap sack or a bag of some sort. He just can't get his way out. And is almost kidnapped. And then the movie kind of ends with, of course, a happy ending. The weird part is the main kid, Gage, his love interest is Jennifer Love Hewitt's character. And both of their parents seem to connect at the end, which leads to probably some awkward tension around the house, I would guess, if that happens. Now, what's not on this disc is Munchie Strikes Back. And I'm not going to get into it too much, but I kind of really like Munchie Strikes Back. On paper, garbage movie, worse than Munchie. However, it opens with a crazy scene where Munchie is basically on trial for war crimes to Angus Scrimm, who's playing a character I think named Kronos, who is this leader of space-time, essentially. Also on this council looks to be Abraham Lincoln, Colonel Sanders, Cleopatra, Marilyn Monroe, and Elvis Presley. And Munchie gets assigned to another boy, and then they do some stuff. But what's kind of cool is at the beginning of Munchies, it has the kid from the movie prior. And we see Munchie essentially help blow up the high school that the kid's going to, or the school the kid's going to. And I think it's tied to Rock and Roll High School. I think it's the same name from Rock and Roll High School. Munchie also... This is weird to talk about. Munchie is blamed for Chernobyl, the Hindenburg, and also alludes to being the cause for Sodom and Gomorrah. So it's kind of insane how many atrocities Munchie is linked to, and pridefully his cause is just ecstatic about the reputation that he has for just not even realizing he's taken lives.
I'm a killing machine!
I wouldn't have been surprised if 9/11 had happened like 40 years ago if they made a joke that Munchie was responsible for 9/11. There's just so many weird things that gets mentioned that is Munchie's fault. And I think you could pretty much leave Munchie at that. It is worth noting, too, in Munchie Strikes Back, his power level is increased incredibly. He's able to conjure whole things and ideas and near unstoppable power. And he uses it to party, much like everything did in the 80s. But that's enough talk about Munchie, Munchies, and Munchie Strikes Back. Maybe I'll do a huge Munchie video sometime. Munchie Festiva. Who knows, right? The world is our oyster, but that's enough about Munchie. I'm your host, Full Custom Hot Dog. I don't know if I can recommend these movies to anybody. Maybe if you have kids, Munchie Strikes Back and Munchie. I keep stuttering because Munchies, plural is the first one, singular is the second. But if you have a kid and want an excuse to watch Munchie and Munchie 2, there's your excuse. Put it on. Maybe they won't cry.
I wish the screaming would stop.
I'll be surprised. Munchie is freaking freaky looking. So I don't know if I could recommend this completely unless you're like me and you have some nostalgia tied to him.
Laugh or cry, it's an experience!
Worth a revisit, always. But man, I got this on sale, I think in the Target. Buy two, get one. That's the only reason it was worth. Besides that, I could have been okay without Munchie. I would never pay more than $10 for Munchie.
Gotta be Munchie.
This dual pack. Oh, Munchies. Back to Munchies really quick. The deleted scene, I didn't mention what it was about. I believe it's Robert Picardo, and I'm not making this up, in brownface as a ancient Peruvian warrior who's fighting off conquistadors, summoning Munchie into existence. Now, that's the Munchie from the first film, not the Dom DeLuise Munchie. And that's kind of cool to see, and that gives you a little bit more of a setup. They do note that, hey, the Munchies were made from animate objects by a Peruvian native curse. Whatever. It was kind of cool to see that in action, though. Cut out. Maybe too edgy, having Picardo in brownface. But anyways, enough Munchies. I could probably do a big Munchie spiel. Don't let me. But I'm your host, Full Custom Hot Dog. You can follow me on Twitter. It's Full Custom Hot Dog without the last O, because that's just too long for Twitter. So, thank you all for watching, and until next time. If you like what you see,
I love what I see.
Make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell for notifications so you can watch whatever comes next. And if you like the music you hear, you can follow me on SoundCloud and Spotify. Check the description for links.